Hey everyone, it's Matt Petrie here. Just got done reading or watching the two videos for this week's module. The first one was Sergeant John Cho of the Blue Ash Police Department, and he talked about active shooter training and just situations in the U.S. And he talked about how the first thing he talked about was about how the average response time can vary between 3 to 5 minutes between departments or agencies, depending on who you talk to. And then he also talked about how he is looking more to implement Alice training, which is more actively implementing active shooter training in situations, which gives the options of fighting back, hunkering down, or trying to escape the situation. If you're in a school, building, wherever you were at. And then he also discussed some points on what they have to do when they first arrive on scene as well. The first thing that he talks about is halting the shooter, stopping the killing from happening, or just so on and so forth. Then the second point is stopping the bleeding, so assisting the wounded and making sure they're out of harm's way, as long as that they are out of harm's way themselves and the shooter is not in the area anymore. And he also talked about having awareness to prevent these kind of events from happening as well, and just attempting to implement active shooter training in schools more often than not, because you see schools always have fire drill trainings every year, but fires aren't really a common thing that happen in schools, and active shooters situations are becoming more and more common, and you don't see training like this happening in schools at all. And it would be ideal for kids to know what to do in an active shooter training more often than not, just in case of an event like that could happen. This is also relevant to my community because it would have been ideal to have known active shooter training throughout high school, because we did have to go on lockdown on occasion due to the location of my high school. But thankfully, we never had a true situation, but it would have just been ideal to know. But my school also did take some precautions to hinder anyone from accessing the school that wasn't a student or a faculty member, and which was an ideal thing. You had to either be buzzed in or badged into the building at all times, no matter what. During my junior and senior year of high school a few years back. And then in the second video, we have the analysis of clinical psychologist Kathy Platoni in Centerville, Ohio. She spoke about the Fort Hood shooting that occurred in Fort Hood, Texas in 2009. The shooter was former active duty military named Major Hassan. She spoke about how there was lack of communication that happened during that time period. And there had already been others that had noticed Major Hassan's suspicious behavior before the shooting had occurred at Fort Hood. And there was also a failure between multiple agencies to share information about Major Hassan that they had over the course of 5 years. Neither agency had communicated to each other about what they knew, and it never made its way, and there was no way of really stopping the shooting when there's such a lack of communication going on. And another thing she talked about was having a focus on mental health with active duty military, and an attempt to assist funding for psychological factors that occur, because mental health has always seemed to be an issue with military members regardless. And there were multiple factors that played into his mental health deteriorating, which had made him an easy target for persuasion by possibly some Muslim radical ideas or Islamic ideas that led him to the point of um, causing the shooting down at Fort Hood. He also lacked a support group while in the military as well, and while on the base too. He didn't really have anyone to go to. He might have felt alone and isolated. This is also relevant to my community as well because there are active military members all over Cincinnati and in my initial neighborhood itself, and focusing on the mental health of these individuals is extremely ideal. So we don't have any active shooter issues at any point, no matter where. It could be on a base, it could be in a building, school, so on and so forth. It's always ideal to make sure active military members get the psychological help that they need and if they want it, so we can avoid any of these situations in the future.